I think a great person is right within boundaries, right? But someone who's dependable, someone who is honest, someone who, if they see you slipping up, they're not gonna feel afraid to tell you. Um, Someone who wants to see you win.
Amen.
10, 9, 8,
No,
7, 6.
like 10, 9.
But wouldn't it be better to do for 5?
You
It
do
seems
whatever.
like
You
what?
could go ahead.
5, 4,
Wait.
3, 2, 1.
Ready? What's up, everybody? My name is Jesse, and welcome to the Jess Takes a Village podcast, where we focus on regular people who have used their education, whether it be formal, vocational, or even life experiences, to propel their lives in a positive direction. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from North Carolina, formerly Brooklyn, she took a plane to get here just to support the podcast, even though it's Thanksgiving weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Julie to the podcast. Words cannot describe the level of respect, admiration, adoration, right? Adoration is a word. Like when you adore somebody, words cannot describe all of those feelings.
Mm.
When I mean pivotal, impactful, inspirational people, it's the person to my left, also known as your right. When it's true, when it comes to having these kind of people in your life, the best thing you want to do is celebrate them and champion them. But for you guys, it is extremely important that you get to know this person sitting right here. If there are any lessons to be learned in life, it comes directly from this person right here. So, Julie, welcome to the platform.
That is quite the intro.
I appreciate that. Now, we go back since
High
2007,
school. Yeah.
14 years old.
Yeah.
First day of
Children.
school, first period, all the way up till now.
Yeah.
Now, I know personally you lived a very fruitful life, right?
I'd say.
And I would say that one thing you've always done is challenge yourself, always.
Yeah.
And I want to start there. Where did you get the mentality to always know, like, you know what, this isn't good enough. I need more out of this thing called life?
I think some of that is from my parents,
Mm-hmm.
my upbringing. I was raised in the projects. Um, and I just felt it like that I wanted more, I needed more. What I had wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think we should all be more like that. You should want more for yourself. Um, you should want the best, honestly. Whatever someone else has, you can have it too. It's all about audacity, like what you go for.
What you're willing to reach for.
Yeah. What you allow yourself what you allow yourself to dream of, right? I think some of
Absolutely.
us like stop ourselves from wanting more because we can't visualize it. But even that's like a practice. Just practice visualizing the things that you want, and they do become obtainable.
But the tough yet simple question is, how does one practice or learn the art of visualizing what they want out of their own future?
You have to learn to make decisions like fast,
Absolutely.
and you have to be okay with whatever the result will be, whatever the consequence will be.
Good, bad, or ugly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be willing to fail so that you can learn from that. And there is a lot of like fear around failure,
Absolutely.
which makes sense, but you learn more when you fail. You learn more when something doesn't work out.
That's the notion of it, because you tell yourself, okay, fine, I'm gonna try something. I give it my all, even if it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
I can still apply what I guess I lacked or didn't understand into something new.
Yeah.
Now, once again, I want to go back to, as simple as that sound,
Mm-hmm.
that's more of a learned skill, because you mentioned, hey, okay, fine, your upbringing was in the projects.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not to shame anybody who lives in the projects, but sometimes people succumb to their surroundings, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like,
It's
and
easier.
I'm not saying just because you live in the projects, you're not going to have a 2-parent home or you're not going to have some sort of like stability or good foundational
Yeah.
skills from the people you live with. I'm only just saying that in certain areas, especially where you're from, like you're from Brownsville,
Mm-hmm.
you understand what I'm saying? In that bubble, there's so many things happening. There's so many reasons to be negative. So how have you, I guess, how have you decided to stay positive amongst all the negativity around you? Because
Good
there aren't
question.
there aren't like good examples when you're a kid living in certain environments. So how do you
Yeah.
decide? How do you know better?
I think it's ironic that your podcast is called The Village, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it is the village, right? It is who you surround yourself with. It is the kind of friends that you pick. It is
Absolutely.
the people that you look up to. Um, all of that matters. I think all of that matters in regards to what you want for yourself. All of that matters in regards to what you see is possible for yourself.
Right.
Um, I mean, ultimately, though, you need to want it. You need to want it for yourself. You need to be willing to put in time and effort, and you can't shy away from any of that. Well, as painful as it may be, I mean, you might have to give up one thing to
Mm-hmm.
fulfill something else.
Okay. So growing up in your house, it's your mom and your dad. What
Yeah,
are some things you took from your dad growing up that helped you like internalize like who you were going to become?
my dad was not only very hardworking,
Mm-hmm.
but never a complainer.
Okay.
And I think I internalized that in a lot of ways. I was like, this has to get done, so it's gonna get done. It
Absolutely.
doesn't matter if I have to stay up till 3 in the morning. It doesn't matter if I'm tired. It doesn't matter if I want rather do this. It has to get done.
And what have you taken from your mom?
My mom is very like sees the end goal and she's like, that's where I'm going.
Mm.
And so she's very strict about deviating from her path.
Yeah.
And so as a result, have been very goal oriented in that way because, like her, I'm able to see the end goal,
Absolutely.
and I'm like, okay, that's where I'm gonna go,
And
and
you're
these
also
are the steps.
right, right. And you're also able to take one of the best things about having good parents
Yeah,
is the examples that they set for you. Although they may not exactly or ideally live the life that we want for
right.
ourselves, it's certain examples that they give us. And then as you get older, you're like, oh shit, it works.
Yeah,
You know, it's
you
good to
realize
be
the
goal
impact.
oriented, you know,
Hmm.
because then you tell yourself, okay, fine, like I maybe not have liked it as a kid, but as I get older, it's like, damn,
Oh, I hated it
yeah, I
as
must.
a kid.
I mean, what else is it? You don't want to put a plan on your life when
Right.
you're that young. You want to be free, but it's like, yo, if I start school in 2011, I should be done like 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
Maybe I, take a break or maybe I keep going. But by 2016, 2017, I want to have this degree, this certification. I want to be
Yeah.
working in this field for a certain time.
And that's not to say plans don't change. I mean,
Always
all
change.
of my plans have changed. All of the things that
Yeah.
I've done have gone differently.
We're gonna get into that too,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? But it's also you that counts too,
Right.
you know? So
But you wouldn't get there if you didn't start. You wouldn't get there if
and
you didn't make a goal and make steps.
absolutely,
You need to start
the small
somewhere.
goals for the bigger goals. So as early back as you can remember, you got your first job. What age?
Oh, I started working when I was 16.
Where were you working?
I was working at a law firm.
Doing paperwork, secretary
I
work?
was a paralegal assistant.
Okay. So the assistant to the assistant of the lawyer.
Exactly.
What was that like?
It was fun. I was getting paid more than all my peers, which was great, and it was easy work. I mean, and I loved my boss. She was amazing.
Or was there like a sense of urgency to work at an early age?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, grew up in the projects.
Uh,
I think I became very aware of how much my parents had,
right.
um, and what my needs were,
Mm-hmm.
or not needs. I always had my needs met. There was always food on the table, always had a roof over my head, but my wants.
The simple stuff, people.
Yeah, the simple stuff. I always had that, and I can never say that I went without. I always had food, clothes, roof. But there were things that I wanted, right? And as a teenager, um, that just wasn't in my parents' budget. And I respect them a lot for being honest with me about what they were able to do, and setting realistic expectations, because I think that that actually helped them build for their
Absolutely.
future
Right.
instead of like relying on me now. And I know parents that like rely on their kids, and
Very reliant on their
yeah,
kids.
and because they mishandled,
Yeah.
their
No,
funds.
but that's what you're saying is completely true. You have parents who really they did a good job as people, but like financially they didn't really
Yeah,
cover those goals. So now in their later retirement years, it's more so, hey, I
yeah,
need to do this, or hey, could you help me out with this? And it's like in an ideal world, you wouldn't tell them no because
you don't.
these are the people that raised you.
Yeah,
But then it's like you also have part of your life
right.
to live too, and that's kind of, where I'm like maybe 60-40, 70-30. Because of course you have to help the people
Yeah,
who raised you, but it's like they also have that obligation as adults too, the same way we have those. So
you want to
you're
build for your future, and I think that they
always,
were being smart enough to know that they didn't want to be a burden to anyone. They wanted to have their own, and so they cut. I wouldn't say cut back because my parents are not very like, they don't go out. They don't
yeah,
like buy things. I don't
mm,
know. They're not very.
very simple.
They are very simple. Yeah. So I think that that was strategic though. Um, Living like a simple life so that later on they can retire and not worry.
Absolutely. So after the law firm,
Yeah.
what's next?
It's a law firm. I worked for the Department of Health. I was
DOH.
an intern,
Mm-hmm.
and I was getting my bachelor's. So then when I graduated with a major in sociology and a minor in English, I they offered me a full time position. So I was a what was my title? I was a behavioral scientist. I can't remember the rest of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what was like in your job description? What were you doing?
It was a lot of like data entry,
Mm,
helping with courses. I worked for the Department of Health, specifically the lead and poisoning prevention program.
okay.
And they held courses for contractors, plumbers, superintendents to teach them about lead in paint.
Yeah.
And so when they're disturbing it and creating dust, like how to clean up, the proper
Okay.
equipment to wear so that they don't become lead poisoned, or the family that
So
lives in the
basically,
home.
safety precautions.
Yeah, safety precautions.
So you're in this Department of Health, early 20s.
Yeah,
Do you see yourself staying there like long term?
I did, which is why I went for my master's.
So
So
you doubled up.
I did, yeah,
Yeah.
I did a master's in public administration. I figured I would either be like a deputy director at some point for,
The goal.
yeah, for the Department of Health, or I would try running like a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Um, but immediately after finishing the master's, I'm
So
like,
is the but.
I was like, I don't think I care about this. I don't think I want to do this.
And like, what was that feeling like? Because you just dedicated.
Oh, it sucked. I like blew over 20 grand on a degree that I was not going to use. So it sucked. I paid for that out of pocket.
Oof.
Yeah. So that was not great.
So many people have that realization.
Yeah.
Like, did you realize it like when you put on your hat and you walked across the stage? You was like,
No,
nah,
it
this ain't
wasn't
for
that
me.
immediate.
Oh, what to
It
say?
was
Yeah.
not that immediate. Um I think it was probably like a couple months after
Hmm.
graduating where I realized like, I don't know. I don't know about this. I don't think this is my career. I don't think this is my path.
And I'm
Um
so glad that you didn't force it because you have people
yeah,
who sit there, they get the
and they
degree and they're
stay.
like, I did all of this for this. I might as well just stay.
But I think that goes back to not visualizing that it could be different, not visualizing for
Absolutely.
themselves that they could have more if they wanted more. If you don't feel fulfilled somewhere, you can get up and move. You
You
can
can
get up
always
and
move,
leave.
literally.
Yeah, you literally can. And I
So
think some
yeah.
people don't feel like they can, which is
Well,
really sad to me.
some people are, for example, when we have our phone conversations weekly, I know you always stress New York City is not it.
Not for me.
No, not for you.
Others love it.
Others love it, but it's like, as a public school teacher,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say I'm stuck here. I love my job. I'm not gonna say I'm stuck here, but it's like
Okay.
if I go anywhere else, like, do you know what they're paying teachers in these other states? And it's like they always tell me, well, Jess, it's relative,
Yeah.
You'll make less, but the cost of living
Is
is
less.
cheaper. But everything is going up now.
It always is.
Everything will continue to go up. But it's like I've been one of the lucky people in life to find fulfillment in
Hmm.
what I do. Like I love my job.
And you don't hate being in New York, so
No, and I don't hate being
yeah.
in New York. So it's like I visualized a life for myself here. But I also consider myself closed minded because, yes, I should explore out there because maybe I could find some place in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I'm like, damn, like I love it here. I don't even know if that's a real place, but I'm
Yeah,
just
I'm like,
saying,
I've never
I
heard of
could
that.
sit there and I could be like, yo, maybe this is something for me.
Right.
But I myself have that fear of what if I go out there and I can't survive, you know, for me personally.
But you have to believe in yourself.
And that's what I was saying earlier about certain things is like a learned skill. Some people have it naturally to just get up and say, I don't need this, I'm out. And some people really have to think 5 years into the move. And some people, they're like, wishy-washy. One day they're like that, yo, I'm gonna leave. The next day they're like, nah, not really so much. So that's been like for me, like my
Yeah.
personal issue.
It's an innate feeling though. Like when something isn't right. When your
Yeah,
environment isn't totally conducive to your growth. You know
absolutely.
that. It's within you, and if you're in tune enough with yourself, you can pinpoint what about it isn't working for you.
Right.
And so I knew very early on that New York just wasn't the place where I wanted to be long term. And I didn't think it was going to get better because it just would be more expensive. And not only would my expenses get more, not only would my expenses continue to increase,
Yeah.
but I didn't feel that I could have the space that I wanted here. Um, I don't know, it just never felt like a good fit.
And like stretching your legs more so because then it's like you're at this career and you're just like, I got my master's, this is not it. What's next for you? Because right after you were considering leaving the Department of Health, COVID was happening.
Yeah,
So how do you know to just like, because to me it's like, okay, I'm getting ready to leave, then it's like this global pandemic.
yeah.
So it's like, what's your mentality during those times, during the COVID era?
Well, so I sidestepped into technology.
Right.
Another thing that I think people should keep in mind is what speaks to you, right? So while I was in the Department of Health, I did enjoy my work there.
Right.
Um, but was I completely fulfilled? Not really.
Okay.
I know I was making a difference. I was helping families, but I didn't feel like it was something that I wanted to do long term.
Mm-hmm.
At least not that specific work. Um, but I had the pleasure of working with a developer while I was there, and I caught the tech bug, and I enjoyed that so much that I was like, maybe I can do this. And that's not something that I grew up thinking. Um, that's not something that I don't know. It wasn't like known.
But like, what drew you to it though? Why would you
Um,
say, hey, technology? Because the way you just said it, you made it sound as if, oh, tech. Like it's something
it was
easy to
a
get
way of
into.
so I guess I'll jump into like the project that
Yeah.
that kind of helped. So I was working at that time as a project coordinator
Mm-hmm.
for the asthma and pest control program.
Right.
Long story short, the Department of Health was getting a grant to
Mm-hmm.
be able to combat asthma
Yeah.
by going into the homes of children that were having asthma attacks to inspect the homes to see if there were any like cracks or crevices
Mm-hmm.
that were conducive to pests, so
Right.
cockroaches and mice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we were getting referrals from physicians.
Okay.
So we received the grant. I had health inspectors that were going out into the field doing these inspections, but they were taking so long to do them. And so we weren't able to help as many.
Families as you could have.
Right. The problem was, it's not that they were slow at their job. The form was terrible. It wasn't in the order that they needed it to be. It wasn't conducive. They would come back into the office and have to redo the whole form. Some of them opted to, instead of using like the iPad, they would do it in paper and then come into the office and do it on the iPad. It was the whole thing. So in order to make their lives easier so that we can inspect more homes, I worked with a developer.
And that's what lit the
Right. And I
bulb.
was like, I
Okay.
kind of like this. I kind of like figuring out what the problem is, how I can make it easier for people, testing it, and then giving it back to them as like a finished product. Like, here's the new and improved version
Version.
of what you had
Got
before.
it.
Yeah. So I think that that project, and that's what I'm saying, like you have to pay attention to what intrigues you, because it can be so small that if you're not paying attention, you won't notice that you can tap into that, you can move forward with that. And like I said, technology wasn't something, no one in my family does technology, or was in it or spoke about it. I mean, my parents were like, you should be a doctor or a lawyer. Those were the,
Sound like you have Caribbean parents.
yeah, basically,
Yeah, it's the
um,
same thing.
the American dream, right? Um, yeah, so that project is what kind of like geared me.
It gave you the light bulb because you
Yeah,
also break in a I'm not gonna call it a traditional curse, but when you have immigrant parents like we both do, and they
yeah,
come here, the goal is for us to aspire to be what they deem as like the highest
yeah,
of professions.
right.
So doctor, lawyer, what else? Maybe an accountant. You
Mm-hmm.
understand what I'm saying? Our jobs are, well, they nobody wants their child to be a teacher unless they're teachers, but you're jumping into a tech space,
Yeah,
which is completely unheard of.
and
Nobody
unknown.
knows what it is. It's unknown. Explaining it to them is probably just as hard as telling them how hard you have to work.
I still
So
don't think my parents know what I do.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure I've said it a couple times, but I think the idea of technology, it just moves so fast that they're not even all the way sure of how
absolutely.
the back end works.
And now that you're in this tech space now, so the guy basically lights the light bulb in you, and he goes, "Yo, we fixed this for the Department of Health. I sent it out. Now, how are you feeling emotionally about possibly stepping into this new field? Are you like, hey, I'm really excited. I want to see what this is about. Maybe I'm a little nervous. Like, where are you emotionally?"
Well, I did my research, so I thought initially I thought initially maybe I was interested in coding, because I was working with him so closely
Yeah.
and seemed interesting. So I took a 1 day HTML CSS course. Did not like it.
Where'd you find this course?
General Assembly. But there's so many out there.
And was it online? Was it free?
It was online.
Okay.
Um, I don't remember if it was free or not. That part I don't remember. But I know that they offer several like 1 day courses.
Right.
I think those are great to figure out if you can tolerate doing
Yeah, if you're
something
really
like that.
for it.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, right. You want to see like where your heart is. And guys, if you guys ever looking to jump into the tech space, I mean, it doesn't hurt to do like a little bit of research. Like
absolutely.
Google, look for these things. Look for the 1 day
HTML and
HTML
CSS.
stuff. Like, look, she knows all of that lingo. But like, look for that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we have the internet; it's available. Dig deep, do a little research. So you're there. You took the 1 day class.
Hmm.
How'd you feel after?
I didn't care for it, and that almost discouraged me.
Ooh.
I almost felt as if that was an indication of me not being capable. But again, you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in your capabilities. I was like, I'm a smart person. Maybe coding is not what I want to do. I'm just not interested in it enough to spend time learning it or figure out the ins and outs of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still interested in technology, and there has to be other supporting roles.
Right.
It's not just a developer doing everything.
Yeah,
You
there has to
need,
be an avenue for you
right,
per
you
se.
need other people. You need a team.
So coding ain't for you.
Right.
What else in like the tech world you figured wasn't for you?
I already had like a project management background
Okay.
from working with the Department of Health, so I thought about like a Scrum Master because
Okay.
that's kind of what they do. Like for
Yeah.
lack of a better term, they're kind of like the project managers for the tech side.
Right.
Um, and I did do the course. They have a Scrum Master course,
Right.
um, but I kept looking. So I looked for within General Assembly. They also have other courses that are tech focused, data science, the coding class that I told you about, and they had user experience design.
Yeah.
And so I attended a seminar,
Okay.
and basically they answered like any question that you may have. And I was intrigued by it. I definitely felt like it was more creative
Right.
um, than what I was doing at the Department of Health. It was tech related. Um, it felt new and exciting.
Okay.
So I just leaned into it.
Well, I mean, you're taking a chance on yourself in your future.
Right.
You realize, hey, even though I've gotten my degree in public health administration,
Hmm.
this ain't for me. Even though I kind of looked into coding, this isn't for me.
Hmm.
And I feel like it's always so important to still test the waters.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be real with yourself, you know?
Yeah. You know yourself best.
You and to your sentiment, it's like don't be afraid to say, hey, this is not for me.
Right.
Don't force it to say, yo, once I get this, I'll make money. And then you're just struggling every
Right.
day. You're not happy. So you jump into user experience.
Yeah. Well, I'll add to that too. Find
Yeah,
out what about it isn't working for you, right? Like
absolutely.
I still felt very excited about the idea of working in technology. I just didn't want to sit there writing code
Yeah.
all day. I was more interested in like the user interface than I was in the back end
And
part of
could you
it.
explain, especially to like the young people
Sure.
watching, what user interface is?
Yeah. Um, so user interface is literally when you open up an application or a website, what you're seeing, all the features, the functionalities that are on there, all
Mm-hmm.
of that is the user interface. That is what we call user interface. User interface. As a user experience researcher, which is what I do, um, there are also designers. So designers are the ones that make those buttons a certain length and align things on the page, make sure it's accessible for people that are like colorblind.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I mean, you have to comply with that. It's illegal if you don't. You can get fined. Um, so yeah, so they kind of upkeep those rules and regulations in terms of
Right.
accessibility. And obviously there's like standard sizes for things. 'Cause, if you're
Yeah.
on a phone, like it needs to be big enough for your thumb to like click on.
And scroll past,
Um,
right.
right. And also not like overloading the page with too many functionalities. Um, but yeah, going back to more
Yeah,
of what I do, my job is to basically research how users are interacting with a website or a mobile application.
absolutely.
So I usually sit with users, and I interview them. I ask them questions about how they interact with applications. I have them go through tasks like how would you look for a jacket in the winter? Like, what are some credentials that you're looking for when
Yeah.
you're searching for
So
something
I would
like
go
that?
clothes,
Um,
jackets,
right,
men.
right. So, are you using the search bar? Are you
Oh, true, true,
using
true. Right,
the
right,
navigation? Right, because
right.
that tells me to a lot about the
Yeah,
user.
that does make sense because
Yeah.
the best way I explain it to people, even at my job, so you have a little bit of extra dollars during the week. Maybe you want to do some sports betting, right? Now, some of my coworkers they use DraftKings. Same thing.
Yeah.
I use FanDuel. Me and my boys use FanDuel.
Why?
And when they ask me why, that question, I always go, to me, FanDuel is more interface friendly,
Mm,
right? I learned that vernacular from you. It's more friendly because I know where things are,
yeah.
everything is organized. Sometimes when I,
Intuitive.
right, and
Yeah.
sometimes when I go on like, and I'm not shaming any apps, maybe I'm just a little slow, but
No, but that's something that they can learn from.
absolutely. And when I go on DraftKings or any other app, sometimes I find myself with like interface confusion because I'm just like, where is this? Wait, I can't find
Which
this.
can lead to fatigue.
And then I just, let me just go back in,
Yeah.
FanDuel. But for me, it was so much easier to navigate. I look for player, I
Yeah.
look for points. Everything is just organized, and even the colors,
Yeah.
like blue and black. This thing is like green and white, and it's
Yeah.
just maybe it's
There's a whole psychology behind the colors as well.
right. So when you do this research, what are like some of the responses you hear from clients when you ask them, "Hey, how would you find this?" Or is it like a 1, 2, 3 kind of thing, or
It's
is it?
never what I expect, which
Mm,
is also why I enjoy doing it.
yeah,
I think you go in there as a human with some your own preconceived notions,
absolutely.
and then you talk to somebody and you're like, "Oh, that's how you do it. That's interesting." Okay.
Yeah,
Um I'm glad you mentioned like using DraftKings
yeah,
and the
FanDuel,
like,
yeah,
um, because part of my job is also to look at competitors. So what are other brands doing? I used to work for the North Face. A big competitor for them is Nike. So what was Nike doing that they could be doing? Or what features is Nike including that users really seem to like and find easy? Because again, you used a really great word, which is intuitive.
sort of
A site is supposed to be intuitive. You don't want your users to learn how to use your website. It should be instinctive.
1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
right?
You want them to get in and get out. That is the best
Absolutely.
experience.
They want to click, go. What's it called? You click, you move to the what you call where you go to checkout. What's it called?
Checkout the
No,
cart.
it's something. Yeah, you want to put the stuff in the cart.
Yeah.
You want to go to the cart. You want to check out 1, 2, 3
Right.
done. There shouldn't be any middle ground. Pick the closed cart. Boom.
Yeah.
But it's like even like when you do online shopping, right? Especially for the Cyber Monday that's coming up,
Yeah.
you just want it to be from cart, card, yada there.
No. Yeah. No glitches. No.
And so let me ask you, as somebody who's in that field, why is it certain apps just automatically glitch? Is there really such a thing as too many people using the app at the same time?
Well, they need to do. They call it a load test,
Yeah,
which is basically when they're assimilating like these exorbitant amount of users using
yeah.
the application so they can see at what point the app breaks,
Oh,
which is what like a quality assurance person
ah,
does.
got it. Did you see the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul
Yeah.
on
A
Netflix?
lot of people were saying they had
Yeah,
some
like we
issues,
like
like it was
even here, like
glitching.
at home, like it was glitching.
Yeah.
But the strangest thing about it is on my phone, it was fine.
Yeah.
On the TV, it was like conking in and out.
You have to test things across
Oh,
devices
oh,
in order to see like how it affects each one. And so also when someone's designing an application or a website, they
right.
also have to design it across the devices. It's
Oh,
not just one fits all.
right. It's not just solely for like the computer. It's
No.
computer, mobile phone, television,
Yeah. Because that's why sometimes if you, I don't know if you've ever tried going on a website on your laptop and then you go on your phone
phone.
and you're
Yeah,
like, what is this? Why
yeah.
does this
Everything
look
on the phone
so,
is like so, like
yeah, or
you
it
know.
doesn't fit properly? And that's because
Then
they
I gotta
haven't
turn the phone this.
designed,
Oh,
they
got
haven't
it.
designed it for a
The phone
mobile.
properly.
Yeah.
Oh, got it.
They haven't designed for such a small screen.
Oh
And so they're
shit.
having issues and so their users are having issues.
And then that's when you come in.
Yeah, I mean part of my research, the designer really is the one that does
Mm-hmm.
um, all of those like breakdowns, making sure
Yeah.
that it looks good on each device. Um, my job is to figure out, are users having issues? What is their pain point? What can the company do? Like I come up with recommendations as to what they can do in order to
Yeah.
alleviate those pain points. Are there any opportunities that they should be looking into?
Oh.
And like I said, I do competitive research, so looking at other brands, what are they doing? Is there anything like new cutting edge that we should be thinking about?
How
Um,
to add on.
right.
How to make things better.
Like using an AI chatbot, to help
Please.
alleviate some of the customer support.
Please.
That is
Please.
that is
Please. No, no,
something
no.
that
I
I
mean,
had to
listen,
research,
I understand it, but it's like I don't think I'm at that point yet where I'm ready for like AI responses. versus human interaction.
I think it depends what you're trying to do, right? Like if you're just checking up on an order, that is not something you need to speak to a human.
Um, no, you're right. You're right.
And now, if you have an issue and you haven't received
But
the
it's like if you have an
package,
issue
and
with your order and the
that's
AI
different.
goes, we're searching, currently searching,
Yeah.
then it's like if you're talking to a person, I don't know, it's just that feeling because that's your space, you're reserved to that specific notion of, hey, listen, these things are useful in certain areas.
Yes,
As somebody like me who's not really outside of this space, I'm just gonna be like, well, I mostly more so would like prefer like a human.
I get that.
Now, not to like make it sound like this, but someone could be watching this interview and one thing they could say is, well, yeah, I know she grew up in the projects, but it sounds like she kind of always had a plan even when she didn't have a plan, right? Because she still was able to get her degrees. And even though she didn't see herself in that field, she was able to find something else, you know? And now she's in the field, successful. But I'm thinking to myself, what were the dark times? What were the tough times? Because if I'm watching this, I'm like, well, it looks
You
like
don't think it's spending over 20 grand on a master's
and
and then
and
deciding
listen,
you
no,
don't
no,
want
no.
to is pretty dark?
Listen, I'm right
That's
there
pretty
with
dark.
you. I'm right there with you because I understand
Yeah.
as somebody who has a lot of similar experiences to you in that regard. But there are other people who they don't have that chance for whatever reason. So I also know that there was a time when you weren't working,
Yeah.
right? There was a time when you know that you were just focusing on getting into this field and donating. You know, well, not even donating. You're
It was
just
pro bono.
yeah, but you're giving all of these hours to something that doesn't really give you a guarantee. What was that time like for you?
Well, I'll start off by saying that nothing's a guarantee.
Absolutely.
Everything's a gamble.
But a sacrifice of that, because you guys don't know, like she didn't work for what, a year?
Yeah, roughly a year.
A year. And some people who have stuff to pay, they can't afford to not work.
I mean, I was still at home with my parents.
Absolutely. That's a plus.
And I stacked up to be
Save that
able
money,
to.
people. Absolutely.
And it was a pandemic. Nobody was doing anything. We were having Zoom meetings and drinking over that. Like that's how what we did
Absolutely.
to entertain ourselves and playing games online. Like, and I had to give up my full time job in order to be able to attend this full time course. Um, I didn't know that the pandemic was gonna last so long,
Right.
or that so many companies were cutting entry level positions
Sniping
to,
them.
yeah, to the tech field. I didn't know any of that, but I kept pushing, and I was like, I'll just take the time to work on my portfolio, and I'll do some pro bono work and see what I learned, right? I still kept learning during that time. I even I would meet with two other classmates on Fridays, and we would exchange things that we learned that week that were UX related,
Yeah.
because we were still new to the field and we didn't
That
have any,
collaborative discussion.
yeah, we didn't
Right.
have any like real life experience doing that type of work. So we were going out of our own way to learn things that the course didn't have the opportunity to teach us, because it, it's not like 4 year course.
Right. What does what does sacrifice mean to you?
I think it means gambling on yourself. It means seeing that something's going to be worth it even if it's not. You have to believe that you'll learn something
That's some deep shit.
at the end
Yeah.
of it. I mean, you have to think that no matter what, whether it works out or not, you're closer to whatever that end goal is. It's just that end goal might have shifted a little bit, and that's okay.
Some people, and I have friends who can't really deal with the rejection that failure gives because you know you work so hard in your life for something, and if it doesn't pan out, like it can be very devastating. I know of someone who, man, this guy was playing baseball for years. I'm talking about every tryout, every workout, dedicated.
Yeah.
Even went to go try out for, the Mets, I think the
Mm-hmm.
Yankees too.
Mm.
And listen to me, he put in the work, but it just never panned out, you know? And at moments like that, when it doesn't pan out, you sit there and you ask yourself, man, what's next? If you poured all of your eggs into this one basket and the basket breaks, where do you go? How do you know to sit back, something that you've done well? How do you know to sit back, reevaluate, and then just go back out there? And this is why I tell you over the phone a lot. There has to be a certain level of, if specialness is a word, but you really have to be like a special person. Like you have to be different from the general masses of people to just be able to adjust and readjust so well. Because it just doesn't make sense at times. Because if I'm shooting a basketball every day and this is all I know, if I don't make it even on a collegiate level or a professional level, what do I do next? I'm 6'7", you know?
Yeah, but I think you need to, as humans, right? I think we're multi-talented. I don't think one person is just meant to do one thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even pro athletes
Yeah.
have a time where they're doing
Mm-hmm.
their sport professionally, and then they retire because
Right?
their body can't do
Yeah,
it.
can't keep going, right?
Yeah, you can't keep going until you're 50. Your body just can't. And so I think you, like I said, you need to listen to your intuition and figure out like what are some other things that make you happy. I'm pretty sure it's not just that one thing. You've made it your sole focus. You've poured all your energy and attention into it. And I understand that when something doesn't pan out after doing that is devastating,
Very.
but that does shouldn't define you. It should just be, like I said, like the goal at the end has shifted a little bit. Maybe you're meant to do something else, but you were hyper fixated on this one goal for so long that you paid no attention to this other thing.
So what would you say, if you want to share, it's okay if you don't. What has been your light at the end of the tunnel? What has been your ultimate goal as you navigate through from one field of being in the city to now you're working in the tech space? What has been like, what's your goal?
Um, my goal has been to never go back to the projects.
Say it again.
As small
Say
as
it
that
again.
sounds,
Yeah.
right? Because I didn't choose that environment, and my parents chose it out of survival, right? That's not where they wanted to be, but it's what they could afford. Um, so my goal has always been to never have to go back to, and to get my parents out of there at some point, right? I'm not there yet, but ultimately,
Notice how she said yet.
yeah, it's coming.
Absolutely. It's on the way.
It's coming. Um, and that's how you have to talk to, like, talk like you're that person. Talk like you believe in yourself. You're as capable as you want to be, as you allow yourself to be. And you need to have that like resilient mindset to be able to get up and keep pushing, although you're getting knocked down.
Now, can everybody have this mindset?
You train yourself.
How'd you train yourself?
I think it was I think I was fortunate. I think it was a combination of my mom,
Mm-hmm.
the way that she is, and my dad, the way that he is, very hardworking. Um, my mom was very disciplined, especially with me. So I think that I got some of those skills growing up from them, and I just got comfortable with being uncomfortable. And when you, like I said earlier, when you train yourself to make decisions faster, when you train
Mm-hmm.
yourself to not take things too personal or not take failures as like this devastating thing, but
Right.
instead as a learning lesson, it gets a lot easier. You're able to like pick up and go a lot quicker.
Damn. You know, for those who don't know Julie, anyone in her friends group, she's always held to like the highest standard of standards. Because you have a problem, you go to Julie. You need advice, you go to Julie. You need that daily dose
No.
of get your ass up and stop being lazy. You go to Julie. And this is not something that just happened, within the year, We've known each other since 14. And we're both 31.
Hmm.
It's 17 years of you literally being exactly who you are. Obviously, you change in
Yeah.
other aspects of life, but you've always been like that motivating force, amongst your the girls, the gems, amongst me, amongst Devontae, amongst the North Carolina girls. It's really everybody, you meet. And I always told myself when I started this podcast, right? Obviously, we want to interview regular people who have done really, really great things with what they have. And you've always been somebody, as you know, you've always been on the list. I need to interview Julie. I need to interview Julie. Because it's like, I feel like you do the world a disservice by when you call me and you give me the advice. I always tell myself, man, people need to hear this. People need to physically hear, like, yo, like this shit is like really, it's possible. And I always tell you, you do not clap for yourself enough. You don't. You don't pat yourself on the back enough. And I get it, because with you, it's level one, level two, level three. I wonder
Yeah.
what the ending of this game is like, right? But it's like you've always lived up to that standard. And if we as your friends group don't tell you enough, I will tell you in front of the YouTube universe or like the world, like you are doing marvelous things.
Thank you.
You are a great person. You are beautiful inside and out. Your contributions to people alone, like whatever you believe, if the afterlife, I feel like when it's all said and done, like it'll be like Jalissa, and then just walk up to the gate, like skip me in the line,
Oh, yeah.
because that it really your impact on people. Man, I wish whoever's watching can actually get to know you in real life, because the words you have given. One of the best pieces of advice I got from Julie
Uh-oh.
is, so how long you plan on staying in school? And it sucks to hear, but it's like you're not done yet. And these are the goals that your friends should put on you.
I think sometimes we don't push ourselves enough. Like we're scared that we're gonna break. You're not gonna break. You'll be okay.
But it's like that level of, I've learned that level of resilience from you, right? Because we've always had this running joke. If I ever wanted to have an older brother, this is like the perfect example right
The
here.
same age.
It doesn't, by like, you're older than me by like 3 weeks, right? But it's like, you're just like, to me, you've always been like built to last, you
Well,
know?
we all are.
I,
We all are built to
I've
last.
learned to be like
I
that.
think we internalize a lot of negativity because of the
Right.
things that we experience, and we allow that to dictate how we move forward in life. But that's not you. That's just something that happened to you.
Yeah, your
That doesn't
trauma shouldn't
define
define,
you.
absolutely. I always say you would have made a great teacher. You would have
I
literally made
still
it,
say that.
even though they don't, they ain't really kicking out the funds, but you would have made a great teacher, because I feel like in that classroom, it just feels like, we're like in a Julie class, a Julie master class, and we're learning how to navigate and live through life, because everybody says the same thing about you, you know? Where would we be without Julie, you know?
I
So,
appreciate that.
I mean, with this being the Just Takes a Village podcast, we also tend to focus on the members of our villages that helped us get to where we're at.
Yeah.
Who are the people that said, yo, I mean, you're really that person, but who are the people in your life that said, you know what, like, we got you. Like, we're here for you.
Yeah.
We're supporting you. We're right there with you, good, bad, or ugly. Who are those people?
I have to say I'm so blessed because my village grows all the time.
It's like 50,000 members. Nugget.
It grows all the time. Um, and I think the reason why is because I'm not afraid to meet people. I'm not afraid to put myself out there. I'm not afraid to try things. I'm not
Right.
afraid to ask questions. Um,
Or branch out.
yeah, and build connections.
Right.
I think that we're losing a little bit of that now with
Mm-hmm.
like social media. We're losing a little bit of like the connection
Right.
that you should be out there making with other humans. But anyway, to answer your question, my village is massive. I mean, my parents, obviously, my boyfriend Nate. If I want to hear some of my accomplishments, I call you.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, you really did that." I'm like, "I really did do that, huh?"
You really did it.
Yeah,
That's why I
sometimes
make
you
it a
don't.
habit. I gotta make it a habit to tell you every conversation. Like,
I appreciate that because I think that I don't know. Sometimes at least me, I don't sit down and think about everything that I've done all the time.
yeah, because you have the Michael Jordan syndrome. You accomplish something, you live in this great feat, you get to the goal, you smash it, and then it's like, that's in the past.
Yeah,
What's next? And it's just like, boy, you just won the
but
championship.
you just did that. Imagine what else you could do.
And this is why he's always had that never stop mentality. Look at him 6 championships later, you're like, nah, I gotta go win someplace else. Let me go try NASCAR. And it's like that level of greatness is what allows him to kind of be like an immortal in the world. And I feel like it's the same sentiment with you. Your level of greatness,
Wow.
people will always, now I'm being honest, these are the things I tell you. Your level of greatness is, these are the things that stand the test of
Yeah,
time because that impact that you leave. I'm a teacher and I understand the level of impact.
yeah.
I literally spoke to one of my old kids today. I spoke to her mom and dad, and basically she had like a little bit of trouble in school, and she went to go talk to her father. You know what her father said? Her father said, "Did you go and see Jesse?" And her response was, "Oh, I see Jesse every day." He goes, "No, but like, did you go and talk to Jesse?"
Right.
Because Jesse's always somebody who's always been motivating you. Jesse always tell you how smart you are. Jesse always tells you, "Hey, go be a lawyer." You know, and today when we were talking, and I'm telling him like, "Listen, don't worry about it. Keep pushing your grades. You'll be fine." Girl, she starts crying, like literal like tears, and I'm like, "Don't waste your tears on that. You're gonna be great in life thing." And imagine her father, 3 years from her being in the fifth grade, still knows to say, "Go talk to Jesse." And that's an impact that's gonna stick with her. And that same feeling that I was able to give to her, you have given to me and so many other people. And I think outside of the accomplishments, outside of the degrees, outside of getting your own apartment, outside of finding a good partner, outside of being somebody very important in your family, your impact is what stands the test of time. Your impact allows people to reflect and say, I remember when she was there for me. I remember when I didn't want to hear it and she still told me,
Yeah. Well,
you
I
know?
am very honest sometimes.
But where would we be without your honesty?
Yeah.
You got to be able to call a pot a pot. Don't
Yeah.
say, oh, it's a pan, it's
I
cast iron. No, it's
I
a.
don't want yes men around me. I have no need for it. In a partner, in a friendship, I have no need for it. You can talk circles around yourself all the time. You need people that will say, "You sure? You sure you thought about all the different sides? You sure that you tried everything that you could try? Are you
Right.
sure?
You sure you want to be with this person?
You sure you just want to walk away from that and not
Exactly.
like try it somewhere else, try it in a different market, try it in a different state? Are you sure? You know?"
Are you sure you just want to stick with that certification? You don't want more? And these are all
Yeah,
the things, we've had in conversation. But it's like, aside from all the motivational stuff and all the job stuff, you've also sought out different avenues in your life because now you're painting.
I did. I started painting when I moved. Um, I had the the way I describe it is that I had the energy, the time, and the space to be able to take up something that felt more creative. I think that the reason I moved into tech was because I was seeking something that was more creative than clerical work, because I didn't have like a creative outlet as a child. That wasn't something that, my parents
But now you're able
were
to
okay with.
right. But now you're able to feed those dreams once again
Right.
in your
Now I
adulthood.
have the means to
Right.
feed those dreams and take courses and waste money on art supplies.
But it's like, how wholesome is that?
It's
Like,
great.
you still remember what you needed as a kid, and now that you've become an adult, you can still feed that.
Yeah, sometimes your life decisions, when you map it out well enough, will sponsor your dreams or sponsor your desires or sponsor things that are calling out to you, right? But you plant those seeds to be able to do it at a later date.
And these are the things that you just stick with. A lot of times when we become adults, we forget about the child that got us there,
Yeah,
you know? And when we forget, it's like we lose a piece of ourselves that we can't come back. And I always like to compare it to like child celebrities, because they
oof,
have to work at such an early age, and then you blink and
they
then they're
became little
adults.
adults.
They became little adults, and it's like when they have these little childlike moments, everyone says, "Yo, grow up," "Oh, that's weird," or and then it's like
But they never had the
they
chance to
didn't
be a
get a
kid.
chance to feed that child,
Yeah,
and then it's like as they transition, they become adults that just can't take certain things
right.
anymore. So it's like, in comparison to us now, we remember what we needed. You probably told yourself, yes, I had a good family. Yes, I had everything that I needed, but this is what I wanted. And I love that point when you said, my goal was to never go back to the projects, you know? And you also said, I haven't gotten my parents out of there yet.
Yeah.
And it's like, as successful as you are, you're still thinking about the people that helped you get there. And it's like, what more do you say to people like that who have that thought process? And this is why I said, you know what? Pick a day, come on the show, and just talk. Because people need to hear this. Like, it's possible. Like, you are living proof. My job is just to sit here and ask you the questions.
Yeah.
Your job is to just spread the information. And I'm always very thankful for people who don't mind spreading the information. I'm always thankful for people who say, "Hey, listen, like, I failed. It's okay. I got up. I did what I had to do." I I love when people's, they speak about, this is where I came from. That didn't define me. The trauma didn't define me, but this is where I'm now. And for everybody listening, use Julie as an example, you know? And this is why we have the platform. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to tell you thank you for coming on. Thank you
Anytime.
for supporting the podcast. Thank you for supporting my life. Now it's time to eat.
Indeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, and it's just like that.